Okay, so let's talk on rate limiting. So in the system designs and whenever in the basically in the microservice environments, our one business capability, a business use case are served by not just one specific microservice. In the microservice environments, we are building different microservices. Each microservice are independently build, deploy, test, right? So the scenario is that what happens sometimes uh, we have to you can say कि some microservices might be not always be responsive or be healthy or be uh, response slow or so in those scenario if a particular request come on a particular server it's okay, but if our server, our microservice have some constraints, limitation, the number of requests, the number of data they can serve. Because every microservices, a component have some limitation, some capacity because we have a limited hardware, limited memory, limited CPU resources, right? So if the let's this is the one microservice and the huge number of requests come here, then what happens? Might be this microservice capability they can handle 500 requests per second. Okay, requests per second. What happened? 5 billion requests per second come. Surely our system is going to crash. System is going to very slow responsive. Might be not responsive. So we, as a system design engineer, our responsibility, we have to ensure that whatever my system architectures, we have to define proper capacity on which rate my system is be performant. Okay, so due to that, while the performance testing, we find out as engineering team find out that hey, my server have a this much capacity. They can serve millions of requests per second. They can process the data per second your request size. So the data information data size and the capacity, the number of requests per second, concurrent user, independent users, these kind of benchmarks as a system design engineer, our responsibility we have to define. So let's we find out. We define, hey, this microservice have this capability, the concurrent users, requests per second, and the size of the data that can handle, right? So, but how we are ensuring that our system can receive requests under his limitation. Beyond limitation, no request can be entertained. So somehow some mechanics, some tactic required to apply ensure that hey, we have to ensure the designated capability, whatever capability the server our system have, only those requests are bypassed. Good example, whenever you are going on the roads, so there is a signboards you find the rate limits. Like might be this roads have a capacity to at a time 5 or 10 year 2 year 3 or 4 vehicles can traverse. What happen if we hundreds of vehicles we are trying to allow? So our whole traffic will going to very slow. So we have to apply our traffic police apply here rate limit. Let's allow only 2, 3, 4, 5 so that smooth vehicle can be travel from one place to another place. Instead of whole roads or traffic going to jam, nothing will happen. All are just stuck. If we apply, we know these roads have a such capability, such capacity. So our objective of the rate limiting is that we ensure that whatever our system have, they can run smoothly without any hurdle. So that means we can avoid un handle unwanted situation in my system because I know what are the capacity or limitation of my system. Under the limitation, my system is work fine and they behave like very nice, but beyond that it cannot works. So our responsibility, we have to ensure that those situations cannot arise. So rate limiting is the one concept, one technique that ensure that in my network, on my systems, the request as per my limit can go, rest can be blocked, rest can be dropped, rest can be queue. Alternative multiple approaches have. But surely rate limiting is ensuring that our systems can work as per expected. And another scenario might be my system is more capable, but we are run business. So there are such customer can pay. So I might be decide, hey, the particular customer have only purchase or buy this kind of subscriptions or this kind of concurrent request or this kind of data can process. So each customer, some customer have by the different plans, different subscription. So according to the subscription, we are we have to allow. Hey, for this user, this request, this data can our system allow. For the this particular users, only this kind of limitation or limited data can allows. So on the basis of customer subscription rate or the plan, what the plan they purchase, what the plan they buy, accordingly we have to apply some value. So two places, one according to the customer plan, customer subscription size, our system allow those only this organization, this customer one day can access only 100 times, but another customer have some bigger plan. The one customer can one day 100,000 times. So these limits can be applied in my system so that we run business smoothly. The both scenario will help us. Rate limiting, mostly these are two scenario where rate limiting can help us. One things, we have to ensure that whatever the customers purchasing my business plan, paying me accordingly, we are allowed to access my system. We have to control them. And similarly, some other scenario, some customer have a unlimited plan. So those scenario, we cannot say, hey, you have a capacity, but my system have a some limitation. So we have to ensure that my system is also not going to crash. So both places this rate limiting is help us. So let's understand the definition, meanings. So I discussed rate limiting as a technique used to control the rate at which requests are made to a system or API or services. Simply, we are going to decide a particular customer at a time per second they can make 100 requests. If they are going to make more than 100, I am not going to allow because they have buy such plan. And many times we have a I know ki my system's capability is to handle 1 million requests per second. What happens someone billion or trillion requests per second they are sending due to the automation, due to the AI, due to the scripting language they can do. So to prevent those scenario like denial of services, if the huge request number of come on my system, our system can be not allowed to serve the service. Maybe the requested designated person that's allowed, they have not going to millions of requests, they are just going to the 10 requests per second. Those right person, those valid person also not able to access my services. So due to prevent such a unwanted situation and scenario in my system, we are need some kind of a rate limit techniques to ensure that our fair usage of resources. Whatever the my resources, what the technique, what the plan we have decided, accordingly our system must be used by the customer. Because I am the system designer, so I know the well capacity of my system and what kind of customers we have sell this product, what the capacity, what the plan, accordingly my systems play, not beyond that. So whatever the limitation we have decided for the overall capacity, whatever the limitation decided for the particular organization, particular company, particular tenant, those let's see maybe one my systems are allowed to upload data. So I say I have said one day you can only upload 500 GB data. What happened? Customer try to send 1000 GB. Might we not allow because we have given such permission. You have only right. We have only purchase subscription to allow to upload 500 GB data. Such as generally limitings are two scenario. One the data, maybe you are downloading, you are uploading, and particular 1 day per second how much request one user can do, and per second what number of concurrent user can allow. So these kind of parameter are property where our rate limiting can work. One, the number of requests per second, concurrent users allow, and the data size, the volume, the request. Per request, how much data in 1 day, our system, how much data can process. Because our system have some processing capability, some limitation, right? So those things we are considered under rate limitings. So in this rate limiting, there are some basic concept we should know, like a request, a single request made to a system. A request means just I want to access my application for a specific purpose. And the rate means the number of requests made within a given time frame, a time window, maybe per second, per minute, per hour, per day. Okay, and the limit is the maximum number of requests allowed within a given time frame. Okay, so let's see, I say 1 day, so 1 hour, what number of maximum limits are allowed. So rates and limits both combined become a rate limiting. And the duration, sometime the time windows, the duration of time during which the rate limit can be applied, we have to mention, hey, these are the window where we I apply this. Okay, and some if you talk about the overall rate limiting architecture pointed, what are the possible components. So one, surely our request receiver, one component that receive the request, receiving the incoming request from the client. Another rate limiter, one component would be the rate limiter. Rate limiter check the request against the defined limits and decide whether to allow or block the request. Or rate limiters have a well configuration data available. They know all the requests go to the my receiver, service request receiver, before our as per the configuration, as per the what configuration we given, as per the user preferences, user profile, user subscription size, what the number of requests, all are the checked by this rate limiter. If rate limiter is okay, fine, it's the requests are valid, this user allow 1 day or 1 second this number of requests, then they allow, else maybe block them, else maybe drop them, else maybe bypass, else maybe store in a different mechanism, different here, the different techniques we have a in a system. Might be you can say, hey, we are going to store in some our data warehouse some big data for the analysis key, what number of requests, which times they are requesting, why they are requesting, what are the user detail. So we for the next detections of security detection, which customer from which area, which location, someone try to go beyond the description, go beyond the rate limit. The might be there are some valid customers, they have a purchase very limited size of subscription, maybe rate limit concurrent. So after analysis, might be this is a potential customer. Our system sales team can talk them, hey, as per the my data analytics, we found that your system is required more subscription size or more data, because from your system such number of requests our system is receiving, due to the this your subscription size, we are blocking your request, we are dropping your request, might be you are losing your business, you might be losing your revenue. So it would be this information again is very fruitful to from the our company and also for the customer. So for the further analysis, we have to again bypass the store, maybe just pass some Kafka queue, and for Kafka queue we have to restore in our any data warehouse or big data. For the further analysis, why this request our system is dropping. Maybe customer asks why your system, why these requests are not made. We say we have somehow the available data. Hey, these requests or go beyond your subscription size. Okay, then other storage information about the previous request, such as the timestamps and requests. So our rate limiting also ensure that what the previous request, what the time, what the storage, they proper the calculation happened. And again the notification system, this is optional component in rate limiting, because let's our rate limiter decide I am going to dropping your call. So at least we have give the some notification system, hey, I am going to notify to the particular from the request, we know this request come from the this source, this is my customer, this is the details, and I can notify them, hey, the particular owner or any admin of the particular organization, hey, we are receiving requests from your side, but we are blocking your requests due to your subscription side, your rate limit, our system capability. So at least we have to give notifications to the end customer, so that the end customer should aware, hey, our call is going to drop, then we have to take next action, maybe increase the capacity, ask more subscription, or next further actions. So this is notification system in the rate limiter might be optional component, but the any critical application and financial applications, generally we have implement this notification system, so that the requested customer must aware why our requests are not entertained by the servers or my applications. Okay, so these are the basic architecture. Clients and client can request. Here client can be you can say client, here client can be users, or maybe any other application, maybe third party application, maybe web application, server, maybe third party Microsoft, some different services. Any here client can be anything that can consume my the API or my services, and before our all the requests reach to the particular my service or API, we have to apply the filter here. Here rate limiters are ensuring that as per the configurations which are allowed or which can be taken exception, right? So might be here another approach, our rate limiters as per the customer subscription size, means ki the number of requests per second, concurrent user, and the size data size. how much data per request allow, yeah, 1 day, yeah, 1 hour, how much maximum data they can transfer. So lots of data for the data subscriptions. We have multiples. Hey, maybe we can define the limit. Hey, per hour only 10 GB data allow, or 1 day only 500 GB data allow. So let's keep say 1 day 500 GB data allow. Let's assume. So what happened in one request, customer sent a 500 GB data. Then we have to again define every 1 hour maximum maybe 10 GB data can transfer. So these kind of bifurcation details subscriptions are defined as a, as per the customer agreement. We are customer can be configured as per his plan. Our admin can so rate limiters is very flexible, very you can say configurable components as per the different vendor, different customer. We can provide the different rate limiting capacity, and if all the criteria is passed, then system allow, hey, you can access my service, else we can drop your request, or again write to the particular our queue, and that go to store in the analytic database or big data, so that ki further analysis notification server, if I want to implement notification from this Kafka queue, our notification server receive and intimate and notify the particular customer, hey, you are your this number of requests, your high number of requests going to drop due to your customer plan, subscription plan, and due to rate limits. So here again, while the implementing rate limiting algorithm, we have to think how these data are going to drop, or which are going to allow. So there is some algorithm required to. Okay, these are the some couple of algorithms we can consider to implement rate limiting, right? So maybe token buckets, leaky buckets, fixed window, and sliding window. These are the possible. Maybe you can develop your custom algorithm as per your customer need and agreement, yeah, as per the business. But these are the very common rate limiting algorithm where you can check token bucket base, leaking bucket base, fixed window base, or sliding window base. So let's talk some. But these are the commonly used algorithm. But this is not only fix. You can say you can be free to build new custom algorithm for ensuring that on which time, on which day we are going to allow or drop the incoming request from client to server. Here, let's talk about the token bucket algorithm. Now, that means ki each client has a bucket that can hold certain amount of tokens. Okay, so generally for each customer, each client, we have allocated one bucket, and in bucket hold the number of token, maybe 10 token, 100 token, 20 tokens. Okay, so these tokens, and each request consume one token. Whenever one request comes, one token we have to reduce. Next request come, one token reduce, one token reduce, and tokens are added to the bucket at the constant rate. We have to decide, hey, after 1 hour, let's see, 1 hour I have to refill this bucket. Wow. Assume that this bucket can be released. So if the bucket is empty, the request is going to the block. The particular rate our bucket is going to the full, the requests are come, and the bucket is going to the empty. And there a situation might be our concentrated fill, but you consume your request is very high request, and then our request become a bucket become a free. In those scenario, you can say, hey, no, you can not allow to access my services. For example, a client has a bucket with the 10 tokens. Let's say we have a one bucket and client have a 10 tokens we can allow, 10 tokens. And the rate limit is 2 requests per second. And rate have a per second they can send a 2 requests. Okay. And if the client make a 5 requests 1 second. So what happened? They have a limit 2 requests per second, and they are sending 5 requests per second. That means whenever first 2 requests come, this my bucket will free because we have a 2, the bucket will empty and the subsequent request will going to the block until we are not added. So next, whenever next time we can again token, they can again token, and one day maybe it's expired, there is no token available. So it's a lot. And even nowadays, if you might be aware about the generative AI chat GPT, also using the concept of tokens. Whenever you are asking any question to the GPT, chat GPT, from your request, they have a concept of tokens. Means the number of word you are typing. According to the tokens, we can get the subscriptions, or we have to pay, you can say, customer. Similarly, next, leaky bucket. So similar to the token bucket algorithm, but instead of fixed rate, tokens are added at the variable rate. Here, leaky means ki we have to decide not the fixed only request, but maybe vary. So here, still customer can consume one token if bucket is empty, request is blocked. Example: a client has a bucket with 10 tokens and rate is the limit 2 requests per second. The client make a 5 requests per second in 1 second. The bucket will empty and subsequent requests will block until the token are added at the rate of 1 token per second. Okay, so here only the differences about the token. We have a fixed token for a day, and as per the rate, one like as per the rate, like 1 second 2 requests. The 2 tokens are added, 2 requests are allowed. Next, let's example. So here we have a 10 token available one a day, and we have rate 2 requests. So here 2 tokens are added, and whenever 2 requests come in a 1 second, they are allowed. If 3 requests, 4 requests come, this bucket will become empty and a block is allowed. And after 1 second, 1 second free, 1 second free, and after that again 2 token modes are added here, and again 2 requests are allowed, and after that. So we have some kind of a mathematical algorithms where we will decide, hey, these are allowed at which rate. And sometimes we can go with a fixed window algorithm. So here say fix a time window, that means every 1 minute. So a divider is similar to the interval or 10 second, whatever. So each interval has a limit, the number of requests allowed. If the limit is exceeded in any interval, subsequent requests are blocked until the next interval. Instead of every 10 second, every 10 second we define, every 10 second, every 10 seconds, the number of requests allow, the number of requests allow, the number of requests allow, else they are the block. So interval wise, that means a client has a rate limit 10 requests per minute. That means we can divide, that means the divided into 6 of the 10 second. In the 10 second, so if client send a five requests in the first 10 second, that means they are allowed. They can make more 5 requests in the next 10 seconds. Similarly, they make a 6 request in the next second, subsequent requested block because they are going to the exceed our number of requests per second. Here the slide window. Sliding window, so that means like sliding window is a look like a fixed site, like a 1 minute, used to track the request. Each request is logged within a timestamp. If the number of requests within a window exceeded, the subsequent request will block until the oldest requests fall under the next windows. For example, a client have a 10 request per minute and sliding window is a 1 minute. That means a client make 5 requests in the first 30 seconds and then make 5 more requests in next 30 seconds. Now again make a 6 request in the next 30 seconds. And after that, subsequent request will be blocked because the oldest window size will finish. So these are the some basics algorithm, you can say, where you can think. These are the well-defined algorithms. Nowadays, lots of customer using, we can just use them. So let's talk about the use case where this our rate limiting is very required. Our API rate limiting. Prevent and ensure that fair usage of our API. Whatever that we have exposed API, we have to ensure that API have a fair usage. Similarly, maybe network traffic management. Okay, so limit the network traffic to prevent the congestion and ensure the quality of services. maybe security, denial services attacks, or brute force attacks. In those scenario, our authentication or is kind of play a role to ensure that character rate limitings. Okay. Similarly, resource allocation. Manage resource allocation in the cloud computing, virtualization, and containerization environment. Here, we have to ensure that the how much customers, let's customer have allow they can only run two instances. They have only permission. They cannot run more than two or more than 100. Let's say allow, they can launch only 100 instances of AWS. But maybe we have somehow some rule, some checks available so that ensure that you can say authentication, authorization, role, permission, kind of a one level of limits of your customer, right? Okay, so these are the use case. Let's talk about the benefits of the rate limits. Surely, this prevent us, ensure that our system is not someone going to halt them or going to say not accessible to the right person. So, rate limiting prevent malicious user from the other system cannot attack on my system. Ensuring the fair usage, that means we are ensure that who are the right person, who are the valid user, who are the valid permission, they can fairly access my system. REM ensure that all the users that have fair access of my system. And that way rate limiting also ensure that our system can be improved. If you're not allow the rate limiting, our system can sometime work fine and sometime work very, very slow due to the millions of requests per second. And that's when they reduce the cost. Rate limiting reduce the cost associated with the handling exclusive traffic. If the scenario happen, what happen if you not apply rate limiting? Let's assume you see huge millions of requests come, then what is it? We have an auto scaling. Let's keep add more server, more server, more server. And after some time, maybe not unnecessary, your cost going to increase if you're not apply rate limit, because these are the not valid user, might be not required. So we have to ensure that these are ensuring rate limiting, ensuring we have to properly utilize our resource costs. And these are the some challenges while implementing the rate limiting, like the configuration is very, very key parameter in the rate limiting. Whenever you are going to configure rate limiting rules, that can be especially very, very challenging in the network, because this rule can be user wise, organization wise, request wise, data size wise, lots of configuration parameter we have to, lots of different algorithm available. So please be carefully, you as per the customer need, as per your business plan, as per a business revenue model. Whenever you are launching any system, we have some revenue model from which revenue model we can earn money from the customer. So as per your revenue model and as per the customer requirement, you have to configure in such a way that you can generate revenue and customer also can get the benefit, or and our system also in the healthy state and maintain the one level of performance for the customers. Sometimes false positivity rate limiting can be blocked legitimate requests if it's not configured properly. If somehow some configuration, some rules, some permissions are not properly configured size, the might be case the right person, the legal person cannot access my system. And they have ensured that malicious user cannot access my bypass limit. Right? So lots of challenges, but these are even these are the challenges, but good part we have lots of well defined technology framework applications available which we can plan in my system design. Whenever you do designing systems, and we have to talk about the rate limiting, then we have to just don't think how I am going to implement all these algorithm, token based algorithm, leaky based algorithm, fixed size based algorithm, sliding window algorithm. Don't, these are the rate limiting concept. Might be you can implement yourself, or, or you can use the open source cloud based services offer for us. Just we have to configure. If let's say you are using the like most popular open source web server, right? NGINX, they are support rate limiting. Just you have to configure as per requirements. If you are using the Apache, is also web server, they support rate limiting. If you are using the cloud managed services, or you are using your application deployed in the cloud, you can, if you are using API gateway of AWS, the AWS API management support the rate limiting. Just you have to configure, hey, this is the API, at the API gateway level, this is the my limitation, this is my subscription, this is the role, this is the authentication, this is the permission, which allow, which not allow. You can manage all the cloud provider. Maybe you talk about the Google. Google also have a cloud armor, this cloud-based security service that support the rate limiting. Even there are some library, maybe this is the rate limiting, the Python library for rate limiting. Even you are using the Node.js library, have a express rate limit. So lots of Java, all the programming language, you can find the suitable library available. You can just use the library, or at the server level, at the gateway level, you can configure this rate limit. The good part, we should just aware this technology already available, open source, cloud based, and we are properly configure our server, and we are implemented rate limiting. If you want some customized rate limiting, surely you can use the rate limiting library and customize as per your business rule, your revenue model, and customer configuration. Lots of industries applications currently are using. Whatever the big applications you are talking about, the Twitter use rate limit to prevent the unnecessary and fair usage of his API. Because Twitter have exposed lots of API, and they have ensured that our API is not going to exhausted use. So fair usage of any resources, we need to apply rate limiting. Google also is rate limiting to ensure that whatever the fair uses of his API and services. Amazon also using the rate limiting to ensure that whatever the our is API and services fairly access. Microservice, all the cloud provider are the big application using the rate limiting to ensure that whatever is its API, whatever is services are fair usage and meet the system one kind of a performance. So rate limitings is one of a kind of a key techniques available. Just we as a system design engineer, our responsibility, we should aware, and whatever the web servers, whatever the application API gateway you are using, they support this rate limiting. Just we have as a system engineer, we have tell here we can configure such way all the traffics come from the internet are blocked, are allowed, are checked. So here nowadays maybe authentication based, authorization based, role based, permission based, all are kind of rate limitings. We are ensuring that our system is not going to use by unauthorized person, unintended person, and thus some applications are very open. Any customer can create the account and try to access. At that scenario, we have to apply the per request basis, per time basis, per day basis, and data of size, how much size our system can process in 1 hour, 1 day, 1 second. Yeah, how much maximum upload, yeah, download I'm going to allow. So lots of business use case where we have to apply some restriction for the customer and from application point of view. So all the scenario we have to rate limiting directly or indirectly in your application must be. But we some scenario be fairly. Let's see, you are using the Netflix have a buy some is you are buying some plan. So according to the plan, you can watch the movie, the number of hour, the category of movie. So according to your subscription, according to the plan, Netflix allow for those user which resources they can access, which resources they cannot access, because you are not buy those plans, buy the subscription. So these are the, you can say, rules and regulations Sometimes permission rate limiting, so directly or indirectly, any application rate limit are used. But we, as a system design engineer, should aware and be ready for the well configuring rate limiting in my system. So hope this information is helpful for you. Thank you.